London Malayalam Radio.
Hello, welcome to London Malayalam Radio. This is me, Maria, and here with us a music-related person. So many people must be thinking, who is this charming personality sitting in front of me? By the way, he is none other than Khanvict, the person behind the most enchanting, powerful music album called Kingdom. Welcome to London Malayalam Radio and LMR. Azad.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm out here in Vancouver, Canada. It's a cold day. It's the weekend. Just taking it easy today, but yeah, I'm doing really well. How are you?
Yes, so listeners, he is actually joining us from Vancouver, Canada, and we are here in London. So that is the possibilities of, I think COVID actually brought us together, everyone together. And this music album is the best example of the COVID situations and how we actually take every situations as positive. And I will actually let Khanvict, before saying all those things, how did this name actually come up? These are your real name.
My full name is Asid Khan. So my last name is Khan, Khan, which is a common last name in this, South Asian, from South Asia. It's a very common last name. And I actually, when I first started DJing, I was looking for DJ names. And I remember just hanging out in the living room with my brother one day. And my brother's he's always been good at making sort of these cheeky kind of remarks. And he one day was just like, "Oh, what about Khanvict?" And I was like, "Oh, ha ha, hey, that's pretty good." And then that's kind of how it stuck, and this is almost 9 years ago now.
Okay.
And at the time I had just started sort of getting into performing at private events, and I was looking for a stage name, and it was just like a roll off my last name, and it kind of stuck. And so that's where the name came from.
Okay. Is there any particular meaning for it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a bit of a play on words on the word convict, you spell Convict. And I think my brother at the time just kind of took that and said convict, and it was more of a joke, to be honest, when we started. But then it kind of stuck, and ended up building a good name around that and a good brand. So then when I switched over to production, we figured, you know what, we're just going to roll with the same name and keep it going.
Okay, cool. So how did it actually, how everyone took it, that's name particularly, was everybody was encouraging to, this with the name, or have you got any, problems or experience any kind of problems with this name?
No, I mean, there was one guy in Toronto. I lived in Toronto for a year in 2011. I was just starting out DJing, and I wanted to get into performing, and he had a business out there, and I went and saw him asking for a job to DJ for his business, and he made a comment that I wouldn't get booked by Punjabi weddings because my stage name was Convict, and asked me if I would consider changing my name if I want to work for him. But I'm glad that some little voice in my head that day said, no, you know what, I think if my music is good, people will book me regardless of my name, and I like the name. So yeah, no, other than that, I haven't really had any issues with it. Most people have usually said that they've always liked it. They said it's clever, and I think it's memorable. The fact that we're talking about it is a pretty good example. People tend to kind of stick to it once they've read it. Exactly. So that helps.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've actually started reading about you, and then hearing about your music and everything, and I've completely forgotten about your name. It's Azad. You are Khanvict.
Right. Most people don't even call me by my first name anymore. It's like when I see them, they just call me Convict.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're kind of adjusted to it, or completely transformed into Khanvict rather than Azad.
Yeah, I don't honestly look into the literal meaning of it much anymore. It's a stage name, and it's sort of become my brand, and it's stuck. So I'm pretty comfortable with it now.
Okay. So I know, as you said, you were a DJ as well. Or are you doing DJing now itself? So now also, or is it just the part of business, or part of your passion you were doing it?
Yeah, I think I'll show you something here. DJing will, I think, forever be my first love. So
wow.
I still very much, I really enjoy playing records and spinning. But I've definitely focused more now on making my own music. Mm-hmm. So production is it's a whole beast of its own, as I'm sure you know, and it takes a lot of time. And over the last 3 years, my focus shifted from actually playing as a DJ to producing my own music. while still like doing some shows on the weekends. I'd still go out and play at a club or play at a festival or something on the weekends. But yeah, my focus now predominantly is music production first, and then of course I want to go and perform that music as a DJ at festivals, wherever I can.
Oh, okay. And how did this all started? Like, your music journey. Like, so most of the people actually say some people actually say, like, if you have got passion, sometime you have to take it out, isn't it? So was it something similar for you, or has it something actually like, kind of imbibed in you, or like, was it something that you always wanted to do? How did it all started?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. There's a few factors that kind of came into play to sort of like guide me into this direction.
Yeah.
I grew up in a household that is big on music. My mom's a music fanatic. I was born in Pakistan, and my mom listened to all the Pakistani greats like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and Abida Parveen, and then naturally, growing up in the '90s, I listened to a lot of A.R. Rahman, and started sort of really enjoying his sound and his South Indian sound. So I think through osmosis, kind of like that's sort of my palette that developed as a kid. And then I moved to Canada when I was 13. And I didn't think that I actually never like studied music when I was younger. I didn't play an instrument or guitar or piano or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just really liked listening to music, and I always had, growing up, I always collected music. So I had a huge library of songs I had downloaded or bought CDs and records and all this stuff. But yeah, I started going to university here at UBC, and I think in my second or third year, I ran into a friend. After I was just doing a part-time job at a clothing retail store, and I was driving home, and I ran into him at a gas station. And this is a true story. Like, I pulled into this gas station. I could have gone to any other gas station that day, but I pulled in this one, and this guy came out, and I remembered him from high school. So we started talking, and credit to him, he remembered that I used to collect a lot of music in high school. And his father had a business that sent out photographers, videographers, DJs to private events in the Indian wedding space.
Okay.
So he just casually at the gas station asked me if I'd be interested in DJing for his dad. And I didn't even know what a DJ was at the time. I just thought music just played if you go to a party. I didn't know there was a guy actually playing the music. So yeah, I ran into him, and then he guided me to his dad. His dad started sending me out to events. And then quickly after I went to a couple of events to train with other DJs, I really started to enjoy the feeling of loud music and big sound on stage and making people dance. And I had a passion for curating like the right song. I think growing up, always had this passion for curating like the right song for the right time, and I think I still really enjoy that. Okay. Even if I'm just listening to music, I like take the time to like curate a playlist. So I know no song in this list is going to be like off the vibe that I'm in right now. For the next half hour, I want to listen to Ghazal. I have a playlist. I'm going to just press play, and that's all I'm listening to.
Okay.
So I think that skill went hand in hand with wanting to perform as a DJ, because you're curating the right song for the right time for the audience. Like, you want to make sure they're having a good time.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was a bunch of little things. Like, my mom's taste in music was sort of my initial intro to music. Then growing up listening to, from A.R. Rahman to all the Pakistani greats. And then coming to Canada, I started going to music festivals about 4 or 5 years ago. And I heard artists like Troy Boy and Closey for the first time at a big stage. And that sort of got me going, thinking that, hey, there has to be a way where I can produce music like this, but borrow from elements of my own heritage, like Pakistani music, South Asian music, Indian music. And so I started sort of experimenting and seeing how I can learn in the studio about creating electronic and bass music that combine my passion for both modern day electronic music and sort of South Asian sounds that I grew up listening to. So the progression from DJing to production happened because of that. I started going to festivals, but yeah, it was just like like I said, I didn't really grow up playing an instrument or thinking that I'm going to be a musician one day or I'm going to be a producer one day. I actually went to school for engineering. I'm an electrical engineer by trade. But yeah, I discovered music, and I quit my day job, and I've been doing music since.
Perfect. That's what it's called as a destiny, isn't it? Sometimes, like, you studied something, or probably you wanted to do something, or,
Right.
there's something in your mind, but suddenly, like, some chances are coming up. and that's all the destiny. Like, I am a huge believer of destiny. I don't know how you actually take it on this,
No,
but
100%. I 100% believe that there's like my journey to where I am today, and discovering this, there's no way that this was not destiny. Like so many little, like even the little story about the gas station, on that corner where I met the guy, there's two other gas stations. If I'd pulled into any other one of them, I wouldn't have had that conversation,
exactly.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, true. Like, it's so amazing to actually hear all those, like, people with this, like, such a passions, like, get a chance, or probably they will be able to actually produce some kind of, like, passions, like, to the world, which is an absolutely amazing thing. And coming to our point, so how did it, like, kind of the kingdom happen?
Yeah, so I was playing a festival in New York last year. No, sorry, not last year, the year before, in 2019, September.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There was a festival in New York called Pop Shift Sessions, which is it was a South Asian event, and a lot of the South Asian artists in sort of North America, like Mickey Singh and Prophecy and all, and a bunch of us were all performing at Terminal 5, which is a pretty awesome venue in New York. Like
Okay.
the likes of Jay-Z and them have performed there, so it was really really surreal just like performing there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember getting there early for my sound check, and Amrita, who's the vocalist on the track,
Yep.
she was doing her sound check at the time.
Okay.
So I was just standing on the side watching her do her sound check, and when she started singing, and I think she sang both in Hindi and in Tamil,
Uh-huh.
but when she sang in Tamil is one of my favorite South Asian languages. I think it has like the sweetest cadence out of all the languages.
Yes.
And so I heard her sing in Tamil, and I was immediately like drawn to her voice. And I remember telling one of the organizers at the festival that, hey, I'd love to meet this girl after her performance is done, because I think, if she's interested, I'd love to make a song with her in the new year. So we met backstage. Her manager introduced me to her, and we just connected, and I told her I'd love to make a song with you. And that was it, with just like no further communication. But then about 6 months later, I had a couple of beats that were just kind of sitting around I'd worked on, but I needed something, I needed a vocal on it. So I sent her a couple of things, and the first couple didn't really work out. But then this beat that ended up becoming Kingdom, I sent her that, and she came back with, I think she took like a week or two. And the actual story is that she actually was sleeping, and mid-sleep she had like this melody that came up, and she got out of bed and went and recorded it. And
Uh,
that was the Jumbale, Jumbale, the main chorus.
yes.
So that's how she sent me that, and I thought that was really catchy, but that the rest of the song wasn't quite done yet.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, I'll work around that section. I'll bars and really try to dial that in, and then we'll see how we. And yeah, and honestly, credit to Amrita. She's with COVID. We weren't in a studio together. She's in Australia. I'm in Canada. We're all just sending files back and forth, and she's recording, sending me vocals. I'm working on the vocals, putting it in, sending it back. And I was really picky. Like I made her take so many takes back and forth, because I really wanted to dial in sort of
Okay.
the harmonies and the melodies. But she was a great sport. Like the more I asked, the more she sent. And yeah, that's how Kingdom came about. And it was almost exactly a year after I'd met her, and I'd said I'd love to do a song with you next year. And then sure enough, next year we got a song out about a year later.
Poor girl, she must be thinking, oh my God, why this guy actually like behind the stage, like backstage at the very first in the beginning. She must be thinking, oh my God, why this like a handsome chap is actually like kind of contacting me? Is he hitting me or like cheating on me? So, but anyway, it all actually came up with a very good result. I'm so happy to even actually hear all those songs, and I'm sure all the listeners now must be admitting like how beautiful this song and. How beautiful is her voice, like and I know it's all
Oh, she's
about like
amazing.
yeah, and it's all about fine tuning, and then you actually asked her to actually like kind of get that potential from her, and towards the end it's actually all came out so beautifully, wonderfully, like so you must be extremely proud, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, especially, I think there's a couple of big things here. I usually don't do tracks with a lot of vocals on them. Like I'm usually making sort of electronic dance music. I'll take samples and stuff, but I don't usually do like a full-on vocal track. So it was my first vocal track, and which was a learning curve for me. Like, I hadn't worked with vocalists before. And then the other thing was that this track, there was like a melodic element to it that I really wanted to dial in, especially with like Amrita's got such a beautiful voice. I wanted to make sure that I was able to do justice to it with the production and make sure the sound was design and everything else was at the same caliber, because her voice is so nice, and then for it to all really work together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge dialing all those things in, and like I said, I'm just really lucky that Amrita is such a good sport about all of this. Like, she was always down to record more. Like, if I said, hey, I want like a little ad lib in the back, like in the very last section, there's a harmony that she sings on top. Like, I kind of just like said, hey, what do you think if we did a bit more of this? And she would just send me all these options to pick from and select from. So she made my job a lot easier by being really eager to do as much work as it took to get it right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's like what I always actually amused about the song, or how the final product is, because obviously when you see a movie, that struggles behind a movie, isn't it? But when you actually hear a song, you actually hear that song for 5 minutes and you completely forget about it. So, but when you actually think deeply, like, it's so much involved, and especially those artists, like, they're day and night effort to make that music, to produce that music to the core, like, it is one of a task, I should admit. Like, that's why I always actually, even most of the movies, like, when we watch it, like, whether it is a movie, whether it is a cover song or movie song, we don't actually kind of appreciate it. Like, we always actually go with that what I would say, the pictures in it. Nobody actually know that the voice, or that struggle behind, or the lyrics behind. So always I had the high respect, or huge respect to, like, all the musicians, all those people behind, working behind a music. Hats off to you, and I'm hoping there will be so many of those will soon will get produced from you. So do you have any future projects, or what's your future ventures?
Yeah, so Kingdom is actually part of my album. It's going on my album called Escape. And the album is scheduled to come out in March. I have a new single coming out on the 12th of February, called Closer. It's got a really strong video that we did with Seema Hari, who's a model and an activist in LA, and the narrative of the video is about her struggles with colorism, being a dark-skinned woman from South Asia. Like, she was, she's South Indian, and she's always had a tough time with her dark skin, and how she was treated as a result of having dark skin growing up in India and so forth. And the film is directed by Anjali Nair, who's done some great projects on Amazon and Netflix. And so the two of them have come up with this beautiful project around the song, which is sort of like a short film about kind of highlighting that issue of colorism in our culture. And so I'm really excited for that. That comes out in about 4 weeks. And then a couple of months after that, we have the full album coming out that has, I think, 8 songs, including Kingdom, including Closer, and a few new ones that are going to be on the album.
Okay. So do you sing?
I don't sing. No, I wish I could sing. If I could sing, I would have become a singer.
Okay, do you actually say some, or sing some jams, or sing anything for our listeners?
Oh no, you'd be doing your listeners a disservice by asking me to sing. I'll send you my music to play for them, but I'm definitely the guy on the computer, not the guy on the mic.
No problem at all. No, we get it. Like, if given a chance, I would have actually asked you, can you please DJ something, or do some bits. But unfortunately we can't. But definitely, one day whenever you come to London, whenever you come to UK, I want you to actually do some kind of things, or either the music or the DJing for our listeners. You should.
Absolutely, yeah, it'd be a pleasure. It would be an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I actually been meaning to come to England for a while now, so that would be awesome to come and hang out there and do a little set. For sure, it'd be my pleasure.
Okay, cool. And Bala was actually saying, I know that, like, and you said you don't know much about, you don't sing that much.
Right.
How about the music instruments? Have you actually, have you got experience in musical instruments, or do you actually do quite a lot, or how is it?
Yeah, so now over the last couple of years, I've taken some piano lessons just so I could, create some chord progressions and stuff when I'm writing my music. And now I'm taking guitar lessons. I love string instruments. I've always grown up loving sarangi, sitar, oud, and guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. So I've always been drawn to the sound of like a contemporary sort of acoustic guitar sound. So I've been taking acoustic guitar lessons over the last maybe 4 months now.
Okay.
And that's coming along. So I look forward to maybe even at a show being able to play a few chords and stuff live while I'm performing. But
Yes.
that's more for me. I also really like going camping and out to cabins, and it's nice to just sit by the fire and be able to play the guitar and that kind of thing with my friends. So I'm doing that more so for leisure than I am for recording, but I think it's gonna go hand in hand because as I get better at playing, I'm sure I'll start recording into my own music and stuff like that.
Okay. Oh, okay. So do you have any kind of icon, or do you love somebody from the music industry, or do you have any kind of people that you admire or adore? Who's your favorite?
Oh, geez, that's a tough list. I listen to so many greats, and it's kind of across so many different spectrums. So, like, if I go into the classical ghazal world, I am a huge fan of Mehdi Hassan from Pakistan. He's a phenomenal ghazal singer. Jagjit Singh, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Abida Praveen. So this is like, ghazal and Sufi. But then on the electronic side, I really like Closey. She's a music producer from France,
Yep.
a phenomenal music producer. Troy Boy, who's from England, just got great bounce in his production. And between the two of them, and then of course A.R. Rahman, Sid Sriram, who's got a beautiful voice. So there's all these amazing artists I look up to. Alam Khan, who is in San Francisco, is a phenomenal sarod player, just absolutely amazing. I've done a little live stream show with him last year, which was awesome. Raginder, who's a violinist from LA, he's a good friend of mine now. But when I first started making music, he was somebody I was like really excited to work with, and now we've done a couple of songs together. So yeah, I feel like there's so many artists I look up to that I'm always learning from, and I feel like I'm really lucky that there's all these people whose work I can listen to and analyze and learn and grow from, and I think that's the beauty of having access to all these amazing artists. Like the fact that the internet lets you go back and listen to somebody's music from 1950 or something and allow the learning from that to come into your music now in 2020. I think that's incredible. So yeah, I'm constantly listening to these people's music and analyzing it for more.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so nice, actually. And I think so many artists, they are inspiring us in so many ways, isn't they?
Absolutely.
It is. And even for your, because when tomorrow, maybe 10 years down the line, maybe so many people, or the people who I am interviewing, they must be saying, okay, you are one of his there, icon, or it's kind of, some people actually adore some of those musicians, and some people actually
Absolutely.
kind of take their style, and some people actually pick it up and then carry on from there, so it's all how you actually take it, it's the perceptions of different people. But this
Absolutely.
amazing talents in front of us is actually kind of helping so many people to come into this industry and then to perform it really well. That is absolutely great. And I'm so glad to actually even listen to all kind of music from your Spotify list. And I could see there are quite a lot, isn't there? So, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to actually hear more and more about you and your songs. And whenever it's actually as LMR, London Malayalam Radio, we always kind of promote new artists. You are not new, but it's still it's not only the film world, whether it is in
Right.
music or whether it is in cover music. We always wanted to actually have more of them in this world, because I don't believe music has got some limitations. Music is vast, and
It's endless.
yeah,
Endless.
and it's
Yeah.
endless, and everybody has got a chance, and everybody should, most of the people, because music, obviously the film music, obviously we listen through so many other channels, whereas the independent music we hear only either by word of mouth, or if it is
Right.
something that very turned up to very famous, or so that's one I'm proud to be part of LMR, who always be with the independent musicians, or whoever wants to chase up their dreams. And I'm happy even actually to meet you and kind of interviewing you. I'm so glad that we at least e-mate because obviously,
Yeah. No. And
yeah,
yeah, and honestly, I just want to express gratitude for you guys as well at the radio. it goes a long way, you know, like if somebody listening to this radio show goes and checks out my music and likes the song, like even if it's one person, that to me that means so much, you know, like it's one more person who my music has reached and maybe they can connect with that. And I think you know, for the radio and for all these media outlets who take the time out to kind of go through these you know, processes of picking music that is coming out that is sort of a little bit under the radar, it's independent, I think it goes a long way about helping these artists find their audiences and find their pockets of expression where their music is appreciated. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to do this.
And one more thing, like, so do you still actually want to go back to your, like, you know, DJing, or do you want to actually just continue with music production? So what's your, like, you know, the future?
I love performing live. I absolutely love performing. I love being on stage in front of people at a big show and playing. Like you know, in 2019 on Canada Day, I played in front of 10,000 people in Victoria, and I remember that feeling. You know, it's at one point I was getting everybody to clap on the beat, and the first clap that everybody hit was 10,000 people clapping at the same time. It was like a big boom. You know, I was on stage by myself, and I felt that energy was, it's
Oh,
captivating.
wow.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's so
it's
captivating, isn't it? So it's just like that boom. And you know,
yeah.
you feel so energized, or you feel actually kind of promoted to another world, isn't it?
Yeah, and honestly, that's the payoff, right? Like that's like I love making music. I love the process of making music, but I come from a background of a DJ and performing.
Yeah.
And so for me, the payoff, the sweet spot is like when I make a song and I go out to a festival and I get to play it and see people dance to it or enjoy the song.
Yeah.
So I think that the DJ in me will always want to perform, and
Okay.
will always want to be on stage. But yeah, I think there's a balance of a certain amount of production in the year and then certain amount of touring and playing the shows. But
Okay.
honestly, after not being able to play shows because of COVID, I am like itching to get back on the road and play some shows.
Yeah, but saying that, the technology has moved quite, like, I think I would say drastically changed. So
Yeah.
even apps, everything has actually might have actually changed. So do you recommend any kind of apps if somebody wanted to actually get into this, you know, in any kind of like music, whether it is production or singing or in any kind of, so do you recommend any kind of apps or any kind of technologies?
Yeah, like if someone, I mean, there's so many ways to create music now, like you said, with digital technology. Like there's not one or two. There's this thing called a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, and
Mhm.
there's many of them. There's Ableton, there's FL Studio, there's, you know, Reason, and all these other ones. I personally use Ableton, which is one of the more popular ones. It has a great performance ability as well, so you can perform in a live set and have your shows all sync with lights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a big passion for building a live show. So for me, Ableton is the one I like.
Yeah.
But there's no right or wrong. Whichever software you learn, whichever one, you know, you feel comfortable and you can go in and explore. Singing, like I said, I don't have any experience, so I don't know. But yeah, for DJing, I was always Serato. It's a software called Serato that I started with, which is it's industry standard. Everybody who's, you know, DJed or is into DJing has heard of it. And it's that one's actually a fairly straightforward one to pick up. And Ableton is the one I use to make music. So, you know, if you're looking to make music, I would start with some, you know, YouTube tutorials on Ableton. That's kind of how everybody starts.
Okay.
But if as your means allow, I think you should get a one-on-one coach, because that's what really helped me. Like I got some
Okay.
coaching with a couple of really good producers, and that really helped me level up my production in a relatively short period of time.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure, like, you know, whoever is listening to this, who wants to become a music, like, you know, involved into music, they all appreciate your valuable feedback. And
Thank you so much.
I think it's our time to actually say goodbye to each other now. So, but it was such an amazing, like, you know, experience seeing you, meeting you, and talking about all about Kingdom. And can't wait to actually. I'm sure even listeners are like, you know, eagerly waiting to listen all of this music, and I'm sure they will be checking out your profile. So, can you please let me know your account details, like, you know, whether it is Spotify or YouTube? If you can actually, like, you know, let us know, so I'm sure listeners will be so interested to actually have a go through with all these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my Spotify and my YouTube is Khanvict, Khanvict. If you look that up on Spotify, if you look it up on YouTube, it should come up. I post on my Instagram about all my new music and events. My Instagram handle is Khanvict Life, all one word. So yeah, if you are listening and you can join the family on IG, come say hi. And I always post when we have new music, and I really appreciate you guys for having me on the radio show today, and for everybody that's tuned in and listening.
Thank you so much, and wishing you all the very best for all your ventures. And let us listen all of your beautiful productions, hopefully like in incoming years, and we all are waiting for it. Here we say bye-bye for the moment. Keep listening to London Malayalam Radio. Aswadikku, Aghoshiku.
LMR London Malayalam Radio.